Hey moms, when we know better, we do better, right? Well, that's our mission. This is Momcast, powered by the Local Moms Network. I'm Demetra Ganius, coming to you from Stanford Studios, and I'm so happy we're in this together. Moms, you've heard it a million times. Parenting doesn't come with a manual. Well, what if it does now? Celia Kibler is a parenting expert, and she has been giving advice and support for more than 40 years. She's a mom to 5 in a blended family, and she has seen it all. We're going to get into it. And if there's one thing she is most passionate about, it is helping us to stop yelling at our kids. And you're not alone. I'm raising my hand too. We're going to find out all of the ways to get this under control with Celia right now. Hi, Celia. Thanks for being here.
Hi, Demetra. How are you? Thank you for having me.
You have this entire career in helping parents do a better job. Tell us about how you got here.
I started my career with a creation of a kids' fitness company called FunFit. I started that with my sister, all about back in the 80s, giving children an opportunity to play regardless of their skills, their gender, their abilities, whatever it is, they could take part in these classes and become healthier. Because back then, it was sports or nothing. So we created this program, and I continued to offer classes and birthday parties and camps, and they're just full of energy, and it gives them an opportunity to follow an aerobic sequence, just like we do in a fitness class,
Right.
but also having their parents participate with them. And that grew into, over the decades, seeing how much parents needed help with their kids. It changed from decade to decade how they interacted with their children. And when you teach a class like that, people ask you your opinion. What works, what doesn't work, how can I help my child? And I just saw a great need for me to go into helping parents, because ultimately you're helping children if you're helping parents. And that just is where my growth, my passion really was born.
What do you think is the misunderstanding that parents have, or the misconception we have about what's going on in our kids' heads? Because all parents were children at one point, but somewhere along the way, we forgot what it was like to be a kid. So what is it that you want to tell parents about this very finite and short, but really important stage of being kids?
Well, one thing you have to realize is you're not talking to an adult. And so many parents talk to their kids, ask them to do something, whatever that dynamic is, and they expect them to answer them just like a friend, a partner, another adult would. Here's the problem. The human brain does not finish developing until we're 25 years old. 25. So if your 2-year-old is living their best life, they've got 23 more years of brain development. And expecting them to respond to you like an adult is not just difficult, it's impossible.
So what do you think is the sort of strainer or the mesh that we should be putting all of our thoughts into to kind of filter what is it that we should actually be expecting from our kids?
Well, the realization that parents have to go through is that we need to understand the beast that we're raising, the child, what that child is about. And the more you understand your child, the more you'll understand how to communicate and connect with them in a more positive way, and stop expecting things that are just out of reach. Because our definition of disappointment is unresolved expectations. But the truth is, in the most part, for parents, we don't even give expectations. We don't explain to our children. We're too busy telling them what to do, when we want them to do it, at the moment we want them. And then they get upset, them being parents, get upset because children will demand our attention at that second. And that's the same thing. You are teaching them a lack of respect when you should be respecting their time, just like they should be respecting your time.
This is a really good segue into the piece about yelling. And I know that for me, I've gotten better as a parent. Yes, I have more patience and I have a longer fuse, a smaller bomb at the end of that fuse. And okay, we get better, but how many times are we going to try to get our kids to bed and we say something and we say it second time and a third time? And each time we say something gently, we're sort of bubbling inside and then it overflows because we've now said it a seventh time. So the eighth time is not going to be nice. Walk us back a little bit here. How can we set those expectations like you suggested and kind of catch ourselves before the trigger happens?
So here's the truth about that scenario. And absolutely, Dimitri, you're not alone. And everyone listening, you're not alone. When I ask parents why they yell, I get two answers. One is, I don't know any different. And that means you were probably raised by a consistent yeller and you don't know how to communicate. The biggest reason is just what you said. I ask them nicely, I use my manners, I smile, and then I ask again, and then I ask again, and then I ask again. And by then I am like exploding. Well, the truth is, and I know you don't want to hear this, parents, but the truth is you have trained your children to wait until you yell because you are not serious until you yell. The problem is actually not the yelling in that scenario, it's the asking. Stop asking your child over and over and over again to do the same thing. I like to call it one and done. You ask them once, they don't do it, then you do it. Stop asking. Please turn off the TV and come to dinner. You ask them to turn off the TV, you go in the kitchen, you go back out, the TV's still on, you ask them again. Walk over to that TV and turn it off. End. It has been ended. Now come to dinner. You want them to go into the bathtub. And there's more respectful ways of asking a child rather than just demanding that they stop what they're doing and do something you want. But if they're not getting into the bathtub, honey, it's time to get into the bathtub. And they ignore you. Well, you can either get into the bathtub and go to bed, or you can get into the bathtub and we'll play a little game before you have to go to bed. What would you like? They're going to say, get into the bathtub and play a game before we go to bed. They're not going to say, go right to bed. Well, in that choice, the non-negotiable was getting into the bathtub. And they had to choose it to choose whether they wanted to go to bed or play a game.
This
And
sounds
it's
like
things
classic.
like that parents say to me, that was like magic. It worked.
It sounds to me like classic boundaries, right? We can't control what anybody else does, including our kids, but we can control what we do and our response.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that is the bottom line.
You mentioned speaking in a kinder tone and showing respect. I think that's something, truthfully, that I needed to work on. I didn't realize, because it's not the way that I grew up, I didn't realize that respect goes both ways. In my household growing up, respect was something that children had for adults. It wasn't a two-way street. Why is that so important?
Well, because we don't learn respect unless somebody models it to us. And everything you do, parents, good or not so good, you are giving your child permission to do. You're not just modeling it. You actually might as well look at them and go, okay, you have permission to scream and yell at me because I'm screaming and yelling at you. But when you actually stay calm, you breathe more calm. You give them permission to stay calm. And that respect, people go, well, I have to yell at them because they won't respect me. Who was the last person you respected that screamed and yelled at you? No one. You don't. That is not respectful. Screaming, yelling, hitting is not and never will be respectful. So if you're teaching respect, you have to be the person modeling it.
So, what are some tactics, Celia, when it comes to listening? And I know children not listening is a very big trigger for me. And obviously, there's a height difference, there is a power difference between kids and their parents. I know something that has worked well for me is sort of getting down on one knee and talking to my children.
Absolutely.
Give us some other tactics that work so that we can create that connection and they have a higher chance of listening.
The best thing, well, let me just say one tip is not going to like create the solution for the core problem in your family. It's like a
Of
puzzle.
course.
There are all these puzzle pieces, they all have to work together. But there are some things you can start doing right away. One thing you just said, Demetra, get on their level. Stop towering over them like they're like little ants and you are this giant creature. That is very intimidating. Do you want to parent them through fear or do you want to parent them through cooperation? I don't even like to use the word obey. Dogs obey, children cooperate. And you want to encourage that. So get down to their level. If you're giving directions, half of the time a child doesn't listen is because you're giving a general direction that goes over their head, that they're too
Mm.
young to understand. Clean up this room. You're talking to a 3-year-old. Clean up this room. And they are in a room with all kinds of stuff all over, so they don't know where to begin. So they don't. But if you went in there and said, honey, can you put those books on the shelf? Can you put those cars in the bucket? Can you put your dolls in the crib? Great job. You cleaned up the room. Do that over and over again with a step by step instruction plan. And eventually they will learn what the general instruction means. And
So
that's where you get them to listen and cooperate.
it sounds like we sort of need to dumb down what we're asking for. And I don't say that to be patronizing,
Right.
but it seems as though we are asking too much. And I am guilty of asking too much. So if they don't know what we're talking about, give us some of these sort of guidelines for how do we give directions?
Well, directions need to be understandable, they need to be concise, they need to be specific. General directions in general do not always work depending on the age of your child. But another thing you can do is instead of just stopping what they're doing and demand something be done, look at your day, create a schedule, create routines. Routines are golden. I had a parent say to me one time, well, I tried that routine thing. It didn't work. Routines are not a thing. They are a valuable way to encourage your child to be more independent and you have less micromanaging on your part.
It's a whole
They
lifestyle.
need to know.
Yeah,
Right. Adults thrive on routines.
sure.
Children and kids really thrive on routines because they know what's expected of them. When you just surprise them, and now we're doing this, think if your child, like, it's like when your child walks up to you and you're on the phone and they're like, mommy, 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 mommy. Every mommy's been
That
through it.
drives
And
me
we all go,
crazy.
stop. I'm on the phone. I will be off in a little bit and then I will be happy to talk to you. But when you walk over to them, they're playing with cars, which seems unimportant to us adults, but is very important to them, and you expect them to stop the moment you want them to stop and go on to something else, there's going to be an issue because it's the same disrespect that they gave you on that phone. And it is the same thing that you're teaching them that you have to stop whatever you're doing the moment I tell you to. And there
Celia,
is
how do you
no
feel?
cooperation.
Celia, how do you feel about giving 2-minute warnings or 5-minute warnings? Do kids' brains need time to sort of prepare for what you're going to tell them? So, in 5 minutes, we're turning the television off for dinner, or in 10 minutes, you're going to stop playing basketball so you can do your homework. How much is this prep time necessary, and how many warnings should we give?
So here's a little golden nugget for your listeners. In what you just said, Demetra, you said, if we tell them, you will get a lot more cooperation out of a child if you ask and stop telling them. They get told what to do, how to do it, when to do it all the time. So if you walk over and say you're at the park and you walk over to your child and say, honey, it's almost time for us to go. Would you like to play for 3 or 4 more minutes? Would you like to play for 3 or 4 more minutes? They are going to pick when to end. They'll say 4 minutes. They might say 3, whatever they say. I don't care what they say. 4 minutes. Okay, in 4 minutes, I'm going to set the alarm. When it goes off, what are you going to do? Get a verbal agreement. We're going to leave. Yes. Okay, set the alarm for 4 minutes. Let them hear it. Because if you then walk away, you've defeated the whole process. Because what this does is they chose when to stop. You're teaching them responsibility for their choice. You're teaching them integrity. I said I would stop, and now I will. And what happens is that alarm goes off, they hear it, they stop because you gave them the opportunity to choose when they wanted to stop instead of telling,
Yeah,
instead
they
of
have
saying,
to
I'm
hold up
setting
their side
five
of the
minutes.
bargain.
Right. Okay. 3, 2, 1, blast off, whatever the countdown is. You are giving them the opportunity to choose, even though the times are your choosing, but you give them the opportunity. I did this with my grandson, and it's like Pavlov's dogs. As soon as that alarm went off, he stopped whatever he was doing at 3 years old, 4 years old, 5 years old, and went on to the next thing that he said he would.
I imagine this takes a little bit of practice. If
It
this
does.
isn't something that we have been doing as a pattern and as a routine in our home, we need to give these tactics some try, right?
Absolutely. And it does. It's not, you'll do something. If you're listening now, you'll probably go, "Oh, I have to try this." And then you'll go home and it'll be dinner time. You'll be like, "Okay, 5 minutes to dinner." And then you go, "Oh, I should have done that." Or you'll ask a question like, "Are you ready to take a bath?" Which is a yes or no answer. Even though we don't intend it as a question, it is a question that requires a yes or no answer. So then your child says, "No, I'm not ready." And you're like, "Well, too bad. It's time to take a bath," which
And then the
totally
power struggle
right.
ensues.
And then it doesn't because you have totally dismissed their answer. Where instead, I'll tell you how to solve that is if you say you're ready to take a bath and they say no, say, "Well, do you need 1 or 2 more minutes to play? And then we can go for a bath." 2 minutes, same thing. What are you going to do in 2 minutes? "I'm taking a bath." Set the timer. Boom. They're off to that bath in 2 minutes without any fighting and any yelling.
So it's giving them a semblance of control in a world where they don't have any.
Correct. And then when they have some control, they become much more agreeable and cooperative the times they don't have control.
Tell me some of the emotional background of all of these strategies because I know one of the biggest problems with yelling is not our relationship between us and our children. It's the relationship that our kids have with themselves. What is the self esteem piece of this that we're trying to avoid?
So I want you guys to think about the voices in your head. So, like, think, Demetra, when you were growing up and now as an adult, do you second guess yourself? Do you think sometimes, "Ugh, I can't do anything right? I'm doing everything wrong"? Did you think that as a child?
Sure, I
Are you
did.
afraid what other people think of you? "Well, I don't know if I want to like say where I want to eat for dinner because they all might not agree." All of that goes on are voices that are planted in your head from a childhood that it was mostly parented through yelling or aggression because yelling is judging a child and criticizing a child, just the act of yelling. And now they're like, "Oh, I better be perfect." It also creates a child who wants to be perfect because if I get it wrong, I'm getting yelled at or I'm getting hit or whatever the scenario is. And so you wind up beating their self esteem and their value and their confidence lower and lower and lower. And some kids don't have it all. They're afraid to even go out. They're afraid to even meet new people. They're afraid of that judgment. And what happens is as they grow, they don't grow up to hate you, they grow up to hate themselves. And that's the truth. If a child is beaten down, parented with aggression long enough, they think they're the worst person on the planet. And you have to decide, why did you have kids? Is that what you want for your children? I know the answer to that is no, because you're all listening, so you're all wonderful parents.
I'm wondering about the way to circle back with our children because obviously we make mistakes. We get angry, we say something we shouldn't say, we do something we shouldn't do, we are short when we shouldn't be, we're judgmental when we don't mean to be. What do we do to make it better when we know we've made a mistake?
Well, at the moment, you can say you're sorry. You can say, let's start over. There are do-overs allowed in life and parenting. And when you say you're sorry, you give them permission to say they're sorry when they make a mistake. When you take personal responsibility, you give them permission to take personal responsibility. Parents always say, is it ever too late? My answer is, are you dead? If you're not dead, not too late. Never too late. But you have to learn a better way. I find it interesting in this world that we get trained in everything we do. Everything has a system, everything has a framework. We teach our children how to go to the bathroom. There is a way to do that. There's a system to it. They take off their pants. They don't pee through their pants. There's a system to driving a car. If you grew up to be a nurse, you learned how to be a nurse. You grew up to be a plumber. You learned how to be a plumber. And yet with parenting, we are expected to know from the moment we birth a child. We are expected to know how to parent, yet most of us fly by the seat of our pants. And there is just the same as other parts of life, a system and a framework to parent. There is a puzzle, and all pieces have to fit together. And if they're missing, the parenting is not smooth. The kids are not learning respect, and the cooperation is not going to be there.
I want to ask you about how you're trying to remedy this yourself because I know we have questions in the moment and then we have questions that we're reflecting on and we are Googling or we are looking up information. But you have a place where we can go to find all this parenting information in one place. Tell us about the solution you came up with.
Absolutely. I want to be able to help every parent because I totally believe I can help every parent, but I clearly can't. There's too many parents in the world. So I created an app to do it. And what's great about the Be a Better Parent app and the Be a Better Parent membership, which goes hand in hand when you become a member of beabetterparent.com, you get the app too, is the app, you can ask the app any question at any time, 2 a.m, my child's laying in my bed. How do I get him out of here? I can't get my child to go to bed before 10. I want him to bed at 8. Picky eating, you name it, tantrums, teenager, not listening, whatever is going on, you can ask that app. And the beauty is, it took me 2 years to create it because I wanted the answers to come from me. My 40 years of experience, my experience raising 5 teenagers, bringing my kids into adulthood, raising grandchildren, toddlers, every age, every stage. I didn't want it pulling from the internet and getting some random advice that I frankly probably don't agree with. And you are wasting so much of your time Googling answers and getting a million results. This way you get a result, you ask it a question, you get a result, you can take action on it that moment. You've taken a pause because you've asked the app a question. So you've already paused out of that cycle of I'm going to scream and yell. And now you have a constructive, productive solution to whatever is going on right in the palm of your hand. And along with that, you have membership, you have a community, you don't have to feel all alone. It really supports parents because parents get a bad rap. Society wants to say everything's our fault. Everything's our fault. Yet they look down on a parent who gets help for parenting. Very contradictory. And the fact is, guys, you are not the problem. You are your child's solution. You are who they need. You are the parent that loves them the most. Get the help. Be a better parent. Go to beabetterparent.com. It's all there. We all want to be better.
I agree. There's definitely this idea that if I need help with becoming a parent or getting the right answers or finding a different tactic, that I'm somehow failing. When the truth is, to your point, there was no training.
Right.
So here I am guessing at everything and I'm looking around me at what other parents are doing. I might not necessarily like what I see there. I can ask my pediatrician, I can ask my child's teacher, I can ask the person at daycare who knows my child. But at the same time, those are all opinions, and I want to feel like I have one solid answer so I can really appreciate this app and how special it is to use it. I also want to ask, what do you think is the ultimate role that a parent should play? I know sometimes we try to be our child's friend and we try to be our child's authoritarian figure. And somewhere in the middle between those two things is actually where we want to land. What do you think is the ultimate place for a relationship between parent and child?
The key to remember is we are raising adults, not children. They're already children. Everything you do in guiding your child, teaching your child, cheering your child on, supporting your child, everything you do brings them closer to their success as an adult. And if you're always trying to make your child happy, I want my child to always be happy. I don't want them to cry. They'll suffer trauma, which they will not suffer trauma when they cry. If you're always doing that, you may be encouraging a very happy child, but you're raising a very unhappy adult because they don't know how to handle disappointment. Tantrums are not a stage. They're a lifelong problem if your child never learns and you never learn how to control a tantrum and you never teach your child emotional intelligence. They will live an unhappy adulthood because welcome to life when things don't go your way. And they need disappointment in their life. They need waiting. They can't get something the minute they want it. Mm. That's what you have to remember. You're raising an adult.
Celia, what are 3 things you would tell us to go do at home today? If we're about to go to pickup or heading home after work, what are the biggest things that you would say we can put into place immediately to change our relationship with our children for the better?
Okay, here's 3 things. You said going to
Okay.
work. When you walk in the door, you know how you walk in the door and you have a dog and that dog is like jumping all over and like bowing and howling and they're so excited to see their people. Be that excited when you see your child. If you're sitting on the couch and they walk in from school, get up and greet them. Don't wave from the couch. Don't say, hey, how was your day? Get up and greet that child. Let them know that your day is so much better because they just walked through that door. If you walk through the door, take 10 minutes to sit and play with them. They miss you. They want to bond with you. And then say, I'm going to go upstairs, change my clothes, whatever it is you're going to do. Number 2, start noticing the good your children do instead of dwelling on the not so good. Your children always do more good than not so good. When I work with my clients, I open up our call with what are your wins? And I will have parents go, I can't think of one thing that went right. And I will quickly go, did they wake up? Yes. Did they eat their breakfast? Yes. Did they get dressed? Yes. Did they get to school on time? Yes. There's 4 things they did right, and you couldn't think of one of them. You have to start noticing what they do right, and you have to let them know you noticed. That there, right there, and do it for your partner too. Appreciation always makes a relationship much stronger, no matter who the relationship with. And it's a game changer for your kids.
Assuming good intent is always a good thing.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And so you mentioned that. So I'll give you a third one. This will be my third one. Wasn't going to be my third one, but because I could give you millions. But instead of saying, when you get home, don't forget to take out the trash. Here's a little trick you can do for everything. Say, they're leaving for school. Bye, honey. I love you. And thank you for taking the trash out when you get home. They may look at you if they're a teenage guy, I haven't even taken the trash out. Well, I know you haven't, but I know you're going to, and I may not be here. So I want to thank you beforehand. Now you've set a positive expectation. They have to take out the trash because you already thanked them. But more importantly, you're sending them a message that you believe in them and you know they can do something. Even little guys, thank you for being careful with your cup instead of don't spill your cup. Hold on, don't kick. Thank you for being careful with your feet. Little guys hear the end of a sentence and they're going to respond to what the final words are. So saying thank you before something has even happened really instills a knowledge that you believe in your kids, and that's what they want. They
Wait,
want you
Celia,
to.
I'm loving these. I need a couple more. Any more big ones? Because I'm going to say thank you in advance because I ask a lot of my kids.
It's it's so handy. I mean, anything you're going to do, you can say thank you in advance for. You're
Mm.
going to the doctor's office and you want your child to sit still in the doctor's office while they wait. And you bring some stuff. First of all, burn their energy for 15 minutes. Let them run around your house before you go. Then they're tired. But you can leave and get in the car and you can play some games in the car and you can say, hey, buddy, thank you so much. We're going to have such a good time. We're going to do this after the doctor. But thank you for reading your books when we get to the doctor's office. I really appreciate it. Already planted in their brain now is they're going to read books when they get to the doctor's office. And everything's pleasant and calm. Get off screens. That's, I feel like I have to mention screens.
You have to. Okay, let's go there.
Okay, so guys, screens are not the answer. You are. Your time with your child is. Screens negatively affect the brain no matter what age there is. Little kids should not be on screens. If you need to, I mean, if you've had a bad day and you're like stressing out, sit down on the couch, watch a show that they'll watch so you can actually maybe take a cat nap because they're so engrossed. Fine. I'm not saying like torture yourself, but also don't set up a habit that you're not happy with that you're soon going to have to break. I can't tell you how many parents say, well, we sit down to eat and he wasn't eating, so I gave him my phone. And now I give him my phone and he eats. But now I really don't know how to get him off the phone. You started a habit you didn't need to. And parents honestly will ask me, well, what do I do instead of give them a screen?
And I was
And
going to ask you the same thing. That's actually a valid question because we're wondering, in the busyness of our lives, we allow ourselves the screens without guilt because we feel like we need some time just to process or think or just make a decision without a child there. We know we need to give them our attention, but we just need a minute. But
right,
yes, give us the alternatives because the question we're left with is, okay, well, if not the screen, then what?
right. And in this day and age, we all kind of have our own little addictions and reliance on screens, which is why parents will pull a screen out. They're fascinating. Their kids are mesmerized with them, but they're not doing your child any benefit. They're not learning as well as they would be learning from you and reading a book, or you sitting down and playing blocks, or you going outside with your child, whatever age they are, and taking a walk around the block and talking to each other. Talking is a big thing. I hate to sound like we forget to talk to each other, but we need to talk to each other. If you're at the dinner table and do your best to eat dinner together as much as possible, may not be possible every night. Even one night is better than no nights. And talk to each other. Connect. How was your day? What did you do fun today? What was the thing that was great today? Did you make a mistake today? I made a mistake today. Talk about those things because they're part of life. And play, get simple toys at home. Everything should not be electronic. You have hula hoops, you have beach balls, you have noodles, you have blocks, you have boxes, paper towel holders. I like the list can go on and on. They're inexpensive and they're fun. Books, puzzles, and they help create a connection between you and them if you play together. Play together. But here's the key, guys. One-on-one time isn't just playtime. You wonder why your children at 10 won't help with chores because you never made it part of the day and part of the norm. Your children at all ages should be helping. You're fixing dinner and your child walks in, maybe your 5-year-old walks in, they go, can I help? And you're like, no, 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 go play, go play. I'm doing this. You just assign the job of playing to your child while you're the worker. We don't want that. We want them working so that when they're 10, they can fix you dinner and you can sit and play.
Yeah. They're
Let
loading and
them
unloading the
help you.
dishwasher on them on their own.
Right. They can do laundry with you. We're doing laundry Wednesday night. We're all doing laundry. How many moms go home and they go, I got to do laundry, I got to plan dinner, I got to do this, got to do blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah, go on and on. You made more people. Use them and let them help, and they will get better and better at it. Many parents will say, oh, they'll make a mess. Well, they're going to make a mess if they're 10 years old or 2 years old. The idea is if you start them at 2, they will get better and better.
They'll get
And
better at it.
then household responsibilities are part of the norm. And they are loving it because they're spending time with you and you're helping them feel important.
I appreciate the nudge to connect first and maybe let something else go to the wayside, but not the relationship with the child. So I know in our business, we're going to pick and choose from what you said and, lean in to try something different. But thank you for making the connection between the time and the relationship, because I know one feeds the other. Tell us
Absolutely.
where we can find you and where we can learn more.
Well, you can learn more at beabetterparent.com. And you can connect there. You can download the app. I've made it incredibly affordable. And you can get the basic package, which is the app and the community, or the pro package, which is the app, 2 months, 2 times a month Q&A, hot seats monthly, master classes monthly. So I'm always with you. And you get to be part of a school community. You can ask questions, or you can hire me privately, also an option.
Celia, we appreciate you. Your perspective as a mom, as a grandmother, and as our support system. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Demetra, for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm very grateful.
Moms, we're so grateful you're part of our community. Don't forget to rate and review Momcast to help us spread the word, and follow us on Instagram at the Local Moms Network. I'm Demetra Ganyas. We'll find you back here next week from Stanford Studios.